Hello? You got to take yourself off me.
Oh, I did. I got it.
Hey, how you feeling though? How you feeling?
Good, good. How you doing?
I'm good. So everybody, welcome to our, this is our father and son type edition where so we came on here and we wanted to talk to you guys about living as a black man in America and to basically just in America basically.
Yeah, basically, with everything that's been going on, like I'm quite sure everybody have seen everything on the news with the guy being shot in his back 7 times when he was walking away from the police. You also had the George Floyd situation, the Breonna Taylor situation, and even though it's this is called living as a black male in America today, we don't want to take away from the black women as well, because they also deal with just as much as we as black males deal with being black in America, but they're more so in a sense silenced. And so we definitely want to make sure we shed a light on that as well. Arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. Let's make sure we get that straight and forward. Um, Now, I just want to talk about basically as a black male in America today, just being born, you already have like a notch against you. People look at you in a certain way. You're considered a threat in the eyes of the law. Um, you look down upon when it comes to certain jobs, things of that nature. But I never want any young male to be discouraged just because of those issues that we deal with on a daily basis. Um, as being black in America, I want you to understand that no matter what, or no matter how they see you, no matter um, how they may think of you or anything like that, you're still a king. You're still somebody, and you have to rise above what society will label you as, because immediately you're labeled as a thug, you're labeled as a killer, you're labeled as the guy who runs the America today, quote unquote, Mr. Trump states it, your monsters and your all these other things, but that's not who you are. So never allow anybody to tell you any different. But also, I want you guys to understand that we um, as black males have to begin to make a change, not just in ourselves, but in our community as well. Um, if we continue to, and again, let not the oppressor label us, but if we continue to um, uh, disrespect our own communities in the sense of, uh, you know, harming each other and not building each other up and not being there for the younger youth, then we will get no kind of change in the community as a whole. We have to begin to focus on our community and begin to build our community up as a whole. We have to. Um, you older guys and who are in the communities, in the hood, so to speak, you have to begin to mentor and bring up the younger youth in today's society, because they follow everything that they see the older people do. They follow everything that they hear on these songs and things of that nature. So we have to begin to help out our communities as well. But I also want to focus on, if you're ever, as a black male, if you're ever pulled over by the police, um, we should not have to have this conversation about how you have to act when an officer pulls you over. But truth be told, in today's society, as a black male, these are some things that you have to know. Um, First and foremost, know your rights always. Educate yourself on your rights of the law when you're being stopped. Educate yourselves on certain questions that they ask. A lot of officers like to ask you where you're going or where you're coming from. You do not have to disclose that information at all. Once you have provided the proper identification, that situation, the conversation is no longer needed. They do not need to know where you came from or where you're going, as long as you provide the proper identification. Once you have done so, you receive your ticket and move on. Um, A lot of people always say do not argue with officers, which is true. They like to egg stuff on. So try not to even engage in any type of situation. That thing that they say you have the right to remain silent, that is your right. Use that. But also, again, educate yourself on certain traffic stops and things of that nature. You do not have to roll your window all the way down. That is also your right, and that is your vehicle. You have the right to immediately um, when they pull you over, you have the right to immediately roll your window down halfway. You don't have to roll it down the whole way. If they ask you to step out of the vehicle, make sure your keys is out of the vehicle laid on your what's the name. Please make sure it's being recorded. Okay? Don't argue with them. Usually they will ask you to step out of your vehicle. You do not have to what's the word? Consent to a search on your vehicle if you don't want to. That is your right. Again, you all you have to do is say, I do not consent for you to search my person, my property, or my vehicle. And that's all you have to say to them, and then that's the end of that. Sometimes they'll do the little dog thing and they'll let it go. But as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do, you'll be fine. Always keep your hands in view sight. Um, they have apps now that you can download to where as though as soon as you're pulled over, if you say a certain word, the app will locate where you are and will send like a text message or something to a person that you may know close to you. So that's something you might want to look into as well. I don't know exactly the app names, but you can definitely look into them and find out. Always make sure your hands is visible. Again, record immediately. Inform the officer that has pulled you over that he is being recorded. That way he knows just as well as you know that anything he does or says, he is being recorded and so. And remain calm at all times. They like to use gestures and things to justify their actions. So just remain calm at all times and keep your hands in view sight where they can see you. Um, Usually what I would do, keep your license and registration in on view at all times. That way you can just grab it if need be. So just keep it somewhere where you can just grab it. That way when they come, you can grab it and sit it there. So, and that's basically a synopsis of being black and being pulled over. And it's sad, but it's true. But I also want to bring awareness to black women who are dealing with the same thing as well. Uh, they are more so silent in a sense. I don't know why that is the case and why it's been like that for so many years, but we need to start bringing awareness to our black women and our queens and letting them know that we see them as well and change is needed for them as well, if not more, because we know the essence of what a black woman is and the queen that she is. And we know what she brings forth in our life. So we have to learn to also respect, honor, and bring awareness to their issues as well. So again, arrest the cops that killed Breonna Taylor. Um, justice for Jacob Blake. Justice for George Floyd, and all the others that have lost their lives to the hands of police officers and to the hands of um, racist people who like to, you know, deem us as an issue or no problem, when all we are is just trying to live and, receive the same thing that our counterparts receive. Okay, so just remember, being black does not mean that you're less than, um, and being black does not mean that you are not warranted the same opportunities as people from different races. Being black does not also mean that because some decide to act in an evil manner, we have to act in an evil manner towards all. That's not the case. Because if you begin to take that energy and give it back negatively, just like it's being received, then you become part of the problem as well. And what I mean by that is, I'm not saying that you don't have the right to be angry. I get that. Anger causes change. But what I will say is this: not all white people are racist. Not all white people hate us. That's not the case. And we, as in the black community, I want people in the white community to understand that we are not upset and mad at everybody in the white community. That is not the case. what we are trying to say is we are beginning to recognize, which we have already done since um, our ancestors in the early 1800s. But what is beginning to happen now is, due to the George Floyd situation, we're beginning to see things and we're beginning to move on it. So let's just begin to come together as a community as a whole on both sects, regardless of what or how you may identify or your color, your background. What needs to happen as a whole to change, we need to come together as one and begin to rebuild our communities first and foremost. Help the youth because the children are our future. We need to literally embody them with education, with knowledge, with wisdom, and with the proper tools to be better individuals in the future. So, and with that being said, I'll turn it over to Mr. Shalal there.
Yeah, hello. People, my viewers probably call me Coach Johnson or
Coach
Coach,
Johnson.
yeah, Coach Johnson.
My
It's okay. It's cool. It's cool. Definitely, yeah, I definitely agree with you. Said, you want to definitely arrest a killer, arrest a cops who killed Breonna Taylor as well.
Yeah, the killers, like you said, the killers.
You're right. You're right. You're right. I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree with you said we're not mad at the whole white community because the whole white community is not racist. Right now, I am in North Carolina. I'm in college as well. So down in North Carolina, everybody knows country. Got a lot of white people down here. And I know a couple of white people down here that pay for my food sometimes just because I'm a college student. So not all white people are racist. Not everybody is racist. I do want to basically do have a series of questions to ask you, basically to get a feel of this whole topic and what made you come up with this topic.
Okay.
So my first question would be to you is, what made you come up with this topic? Like, what dawned onto you in your head? How did you come up with this topic, and how did you come up and wanted to do this video?
Just basically seeing all the stuff that's happening in the world today. First and foremost, we have no leadership, and with no leadership breeds chaos, and that's what's happening. But what's beginning to happen is, which has always happened, where the Black community is taking the brunt of it, and those who stand for a cause to try to change that is also getting the brunt of it. And so I thought it'd be best that we make a video and bring some kind of awareness to exactly what's going on in the Black community today. Some people do not want to acknowledge it because it begins to bring forth a guilt in themselves. And I think that in itself helps because it begins to make people recognize whether whether people are evil or whether people are helping the record. People are recognizing what's going on. So a lot of the evil that people are given is because in themselves they know that they are the problem. You get what I'm saying? It's a select few who have recognized, know that they are a problem, and begin to try to help and change. I salute all those people. But those who are still narrow-minded and stuck in that same slave mentality, slave mindset, slave master mindset, shall I say? Um, those are the people that we need to try and reach. And some, you know what? You may never reach them. I've gotten to that point now. There's no need to argue. It's better to educate. So instead of arguing and trying to, um, in a sense, because you don't want to, I never want to be the person that makes it seem like one race is superior to the other, because that's what they have been banging in our heads for years. That's not the case. But what I do want them to understand is we are not less than you. So that's, with that being said, I want to take that and begin to educate people on letting them understand that we're not less than they are. Okay. And we're not trying to be more than they are. We just want them to understand that in any sense we are equal. So
That's okay. I like that. I like that. Equal. If I'm not mistaken, I am just starting college, so my brain is a little everywhere. But
right.
it was a bill that was passed. It wasn't a bill. I want to say it was a bill, but it was a speech, and I believe it was Dr. Martin Luther King. He said that we are equal. before he died, you know, he wanted to make sure that black and white are equal. Basically, how the segregation law was basically happening, where so you had your black bathrooms, well, your colored bathrooms, you
That
had
was
your
the Jim
white,
Crow law.
right, the Jim Crow law. I remember that. I learned that in middle school. And you had your colored bathrooms, you had your white bathrooms, certain stuff like that. And, you know, I still believe in some type of, you know, political mindset that our president still has that mindset, whereas though, you know, it's still the colored versus the white, you know, and they don't just call us black, because the color can be black, it can be Native Americans, it can be, you know, the people from Bahamas, Jamaican, all the type of sorts like that, Asian, you know, Korean, because all of those African, excuse me, all of those races can be called as color and not white, because you know, white, right, white just have the actual white people, just actually white Caucasian. So I believe our president still has that mindset, and you know, it's never going to change, you know, unless we get like a different president, or our president get more highly educated, because I really believe our president not educated at all. You know, somebody that, you know, says he's this, that, and the third, and you know, I just don't think he's educated. You know, he has a whole bunch of money and let the money get to his head. You know, money is the root of all evil. So at this point, it's just more a simple fact of him just basically taking over with the money and his mindset. He just thinking he runs the world. You know, politically he runs the world, but you know, everybody runs their own actions and own words and stuff like that. So I just believe that's in that scenario. Another thing I did want to touch on is, and then I want to ask you a question about. So you did touch on a little bit about the George Floyd situation, and you know, since the George Floyd situation, we made a Black Lives Matter mural in Washington D.C.
Right.
And then after that, then you got Jacob Blake. You know, I want to talk on that situation as well, but we're gonna get to that. But you got the Jacob Blake situation, where as though he was killed 7 times, shot in his back, you know, walking into his car. But then you have, as they do peaceful protests about Jacob Blake, a white man comes with a gun and kill peaceful protesters. And you know, the police officer, they take him some food, they give him some water, and then he return him home. He had to literally turn his own self in the next morning. So certain things like that, I just basically want to come on and touch on in certain situations, because I feel as though if that was a black man walking down the middle of the street with a gun, he'd have been gone. He'd have been gone. So basically my moral story is, when is it going to change? You know, and then they also, another thing I want to touch on before I ask you the question, they say that everybody says the children is the future. You feel me? But you guys take the resources away, not you, but you guys take the resources away from the children. How can you take the resources away from the children? And how can you teach the children these political reasons if we are the future? How are we going, you teaching us to, you know, you basically take it like, okay, I'm in this project called the Food Insecurity Project, and as far as certain resources that's been taken away from you that we actually need to survive. And I'm just saying here, like, how can you take away resources that we need to survive? We're supposed to be the future for you guys. We're supposed to be the ones to look up. We're supposed to be the ones that come and go to college, and after we get out of college, you know, we'll be high people in the office. But how can we do that if we don't have enough resources, like Hearts Mouth, enough resources, certain colleges, universities? Because even if you think about it, the school system is messed up as well too. So certain situations is certain resources and certain universities and schools and stuff like that are not following the right protocols, but by saying that the children are the future. So that talks to basically that's just everything I wanted to touch on before, you know, actually the question. So my question to you is, how did you feel about them making the Black Lives Matter mural? Basically, I would say, for me to answer the question, before you answer the question, is I say, why do we wait? Why does it have to take for somebody to die for you guys to speak back up again, when this has been the same thing for constant years and centuries and decades? Why does somebody has to die? It has to be viral, it has to be online, it has to be sent to Instagram, YouTube, CNN, you know, all social media platforms for you guys to make change. I just really feel as though that I'm not like speaking on anybody, and I'm not like breaking anybody down or anything, because like I said, I stand for Black Lives Matter, Black Lives do matter, all lives matter at that. But my thing is, why did it take for you guys for somebody to die on national, not I won't say national TV, but on internet, if it was viral, it'd be on internet. Why does it take somebody to die for you guys to actually start speaking up again for certain things that happened for centuries and centuries and centuries? It's just not making sense. You guys wait. Because after, if you think about it, George Floyd, he passed away. You know, God rest his soul. But then he was the biggest thing for about like a month and a half. Then everything started dying off. You don't see a lot of Black Lives Matter on Instagram. You don't. Then Jacob Blake, he gets shot. You know, he didn't die, but he's paralyzed from the waist down. Now everybody, oh, Black Lives Matter, this, that, and the third. Why does it have to take something to happen for people to want to change again?
Right.
So that's my question to you.
And that's a good question too, and I want to touch on that, because what happens is, and this happens a lot, you hit it right on the nose. An event occurs, people protest, they go out, they stand, but it begins to die down because the mind forgets. You get what I'm saying? Certain things begin to happen. They begin to bring some kind of awareness to it, in a sense, because it begins to be a movement, and everybody wants to be a part of something. So it begins to be a movement. People get to yelling, people get to screaming, people get to protesting. They're doing their best. But when it begins to fade out, the mindset begins to fade out with it. And I think what needs to begin to happen is we need to stop forgetting and keep that same mindset, that same drive that we have from the beginning all the way into the end until change happens. Because when we forget and we get content, we stop caring. Okay, it becomes, okay, yeah, that happened. I'm sorry that it did happen, but it's not as much drive as I had before for it. And we have to stop doing that, because once that dies out, then this happens. And this is why the things continue to happen, because we forget. And we have to begin, as a people, we have to begin to make a change in other ways. Protesting is great because it brings awareness. Speaking about it is great because it brings awareness. But we have to also take action. Okay, because continuously doing the same thing, in my opinion, is not going to bring forth the change that's needed, that we are looking for. So we have to, one, not stop forgetting, and two, just continue on with what it is, even when everything that's happening may be bad, or you may be getting backlash on it. We still have to continue and move forward.
So okay, that's also, I agree with that. I really do agree with that. Right. I'm actually in the comments right now with Miss Selena Graham, and she is basically saying that she disagreed with the fact that every race should be equal. I commented back and asked her, why does she disagree like that? We just basically asking questions. And if you guys watching this and you guys have any questions or you disagree with anything, let us know in the comments and we'll be happy to get to it. So while she sits there and returns the comment, I also want to bring up a point where it's though. So as you can see, 2020 has been an uproar. And, I am religious, but I'm not going to step on anyone's toes about their religion. Mm-hmm. But if you read the Bible and you go to church, you would kind of know that in the Bible they said God may return. Mm-hmm. I really don't remember I don't think they say exact year or an exact when he returned. Mm-hmm. But 2020 hasn't been right since January. Right. In March you have a pandemic. You have a pandemic out of nowhere. And then my thing is, it skipped a lot of levels to be a pandemic, if you get what I'm saying.
I understand. I think I understand where you're going with it, but I'll let you continue. Go ahead.
Right. So it skipped a lot of levels. First, it gotta be epidemic before it be a pandemic, because a pandemic is everybody. Epidemic is just in an isolated area. Okay. So I believe that this pandemic, and this is my opinion. Like I said, I'm not stepping on anybody's toes. I believe this whole coronavirus, I wouldn't say the coronavirus is fake, because people are out here getting sick and they're out here dying. Mm-hmm. But I just believe this coronavirus pandemic is actually been planned. Like it's actually something that's been leaked, or something that's been accidentally sent to patient zero for a test, and patient zero got out and it affected other people. I believe that this is somewhat planned and somewhat just a cover up for something that's going behind the scenes. I feel it's that, in my own opinion. Like I said, you guys have own opinion. I have my own opinion as well. I feel as though that was just something that the government has been backed up. And if
Mhm.
and then I don't know if you might got somebody hear it. They said something about the 5G where all the phones start
Mhm.
getting messed up and everybody start getting headaches out of nowhere, and the people's phones started getting turned off, so they make you change your phone service.
Mhm.
And then right after that, you got the George Floyd situation, and then
Mhm.
right after that, you got everybody's on Black Lives Matter, and now everybody want to do the Black Lives and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Where was y'all when the Black Wall Street got took down? Where was y'all at? You know, certain situations like that, and then we got the Jacob Blake matter stuff like that. So it's just certain situations, certain things is going on. It's going on like in a category of events, and I just feel as though it's a big mask over something that's behind the scenes in the 2020 government politics, because this is the year where we're supposed to vote for a new president. So
Mhm.
I just want to basically touch on that as well too.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's always we can sit up here and literally go back and forth for hours about how we may um, look at the whole what's the name and how that works and the whole 9 yards. We could do that for hours, but at the end of the day, what I will say is this: just make sure in this pandemic, you're doing everything that you possibly can to protect yourself. Because again, I, I definitely believe that it's more to it. It's definitely things that's going on in the background. Uh, but at the end of the day, we will never truly know exactly what's going on. Only thing we can do is identify one that there is a crisis going on, which people are dying from the coronavirus. We can identify that. Two, we can do everything that we can to protect ourselves in the process. Three, we can also educate and do our research on it. So that's what we can do to find out exactly what's really going on. Always educate yourself on it, but then the process protect yourself. That way, you're one not spreading it, and two, you're not getting it from somebody and taking it home to your family and things of that nature. To touch on the questions with every race shouldn't be created equal, that's her opinion in the situation. The reason why we say this, in a sense, because first and foremost, even though we are white, black, Puerto Rican, Jamaican, Asian, in the end of the day, we're all considered one race, which is the human race. Okay, that's just first and foremost. Second, though, you cannot embody um, that your race is superior than another race, then get upset at that race for doing the same exact thing. Okay, so you can't. That's where you kind of get mixed up at with that there, because you have a lot of people who say, "Yo, I can't stand these people. They doing this, they doing that," and I understand the anger and the rage. That's understandable. That's one thing I will say. As a black individual, the anger is understandable. I will never deny you that, and don't deny yourself that. But it's how you use that anger is the key. Okay, I had a lady, Miss Zimmerman, tell me one time. She said, "It's not what people do to you; it's how you respond." You get what I'm saying? That's what matters. It's not what people do to you; it's how you respond. And that has stuck with me for a long time. Now I cannot say I've been 100% with it, but that is something that we as a people need to understand. That is not what people do to us. Yes, they have been. We know we have not experienced half of what our ancestors experienced. You get what I'm saying? Your grandfather, my dad, grew up in the Jim Crow era. So I've conversed with him, and he's spoken to me about how things were separate. Interracial relationships were like condemned. You get what I'm saying? I don't even interracial. You couldn't even marry in an interracial relationship until like I think somewhere in the '60s, I believe it was finally approved. You get what I'm saying? So that goes to show you how back then that wasn't even allowed; it was condemned. But not all people, even back then, not all white people were bad then, because you also had white people that were marching and protesting and standing for what back then was the civil rights movement. Now it's the Black Lives Matter movement. Back then it's the civil rights movement. And to answer your question about where was Black Lives Matter at then, what people don't understand is a lot of things happen sometime, but it takes things to happen sometime to make change. You spoke on the Bible. It took Jesus to come for people to start realizing, like, hey, these, people that's telling us about the laws and the structure of the world today, Jesus is the one who's telling us the truth. That's how they identified with it. You get what I'm saying? So it did take something to happen. It took him to be crucified and everything for people to say, okay, there is something that's bigger than not just myself, but what they're teaching us. So it took for him to die for that to occur, speaking in biblical terms. So it takes, and it's sad. I don't agree with it, but it took something to happen that was very tragic for change to happen. And that's what began to happen. We're still nowhere where we need to be. I don't even think we're close, to be honest with you. And it's going to take a lot. But again, I believe that we as a community have to um, help each other. It starts with us. You said, how do you guys say that the children are the future, yet you take the resources? That has been done a lot, because in the black community and the white community, the resources are different. We know that. But in the black community, the guys who are the hustlers and all that other stuff, and whatever you do, if that's the case, and you can, in a sense, tear your community down, then figure out a way to start building your community up. You know that the resources in the community are not there. So these guys need to start putting their money and giving back for the schools to get books and little programs for the youth, after school programs. I remember after school programs when I was a kid. You understand what I'm saying? And yeah, we still got on a little riffraff when we was children, the things children do, but there were after school programs. You know what I mean? There were rec centers and things of that nature. And they're beginning to tear those down and snatch those out. So when you take those from the community, the inner city youth, what begins to happen is they begin to follow the inner city. So whatever's going on in the inner city, those youth are going to be the product of that. You know what I mean? So we have to figure out a way to begin to give back to the community. That way, these young youth, especially young black males, you understand what I'm saying? We have, because the young black males are going to raise young black males. You feel what I'm saying? We have to teach these young black males how to respect our women, how to teach our women, how to be there for our women and things of that nature. That's not happening. They have no structure on any kind of what's the word I'm looking for? On any kind of manners, so to speak. That's not the actual word I'm looking for, but that needs to begin to happen. Teach structure and things like that. Begin to teach the children trades and stuff like that, and how to build credit, and how to have a checking in a savings account, how to fill checks out, how to do things like that. That's what needs to begin to happen, because that's how you literally elevate young youth in the inner city. And that's how you bring them forth to be able to go to college and be college graduates, to be able to be the next senators and presidents, to be able to black owned business owners and things like that. Because when the money begins to uh, can stay and travel around in the black community, it uplifts the black community. It begins to not only bring structure, but brings money flow to the black community, which we lost in Black Wall Street. You get what I'm saying? Which we lost in Rosewood and things like that. You feel what I'm saying? Where those black communities were thriving and they were tore down just because of that. So, and I understand how she may feel about races shouldn't be equal. I understand that. You get what I'm saying? I do. I understand that. I'm all for loving your people and standing up for your people. I'm all for that. But let not that rage, or let not that anger, or let not that feeling or opinion be what's the word I want to look for? Let that not transcend into something that's evil and negative, and bring forth the same, nonsense and evil that they're bringing forth. Not saying that's what she would do. I'm just saying let not that occur. So
Okay, okay, okay. Well, you touched on a lot of good points.
mhm.
So I definitely do agree with you by saying, regarding to Miss Selena's comment she had about races and, all races should be equal as well. So yeah, I definitely do agree with that, and I definitely do agree with what you touched on when you said, so-called hustlers in the community needs to start paying their tithes into the community. You know, you're on the community blocks, or you're on the community doing whatever you may be doing, and you're gaining money from whatever you may be doing, at least put the money to good use.
Right,
But
because
then,
you're gaining the money from the community. So
correct.
literally give the money back to the community. That's the way you
Mhm.
build your community up and strengthen your community. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? Again, let us make this clear before we continue. I didn't mean to cut you off. We do
Okay,
not in
cool.
any way, shape, or form uh advocate any uh drug dealing or anything
Drug,
like that.
nothing,
That's
right.
not what we're saying. We in no way, shape, or form advocate that. What we're saying is if that's the route that people in the community are taking, then do the right thing and start giving back to your community and uplift your community and put that into something that's legal and decent that'll help build your community and uplift the youth in it.
Okay, I'm glad. Yeah, thank you. So I'm glad you kind of touched on that, because a lot of people might get misinterpreted on
Exactly.
communication as well. So I'm glad you, like I said, we don't condone into it. Like I said, we
Exactly.
don't
That's the
condone
word
into
I was
the
looking for.
violence.
Thank you.
We don't condone into the violence. We don't condone into the drug dealing or anything. But if that's must what you do, because we can't control your actions, you
Hmm.
know. So, but if that's what you must do, at least put something back into the community.
Indeed.
Um, we also have one comment in here too. It says, Mr. Gerardo said, "So you have no problem with rioting, looting, or burning down businesses." We do have a problem with that. I
Exactly.
do have a problem with that. So I'm not saying, like, I suppose like this. I don't condone it. Like I said earlier, I don't condone in violence. And then as what I may see this, I don't condone in violence protests. I condone in peaceful protests, whereas though we all come together as one people and actually take a march and actually protest for a change. But I don't condone the rioting and spraying on the city hall and knocking down
Mhm.
the statues and throwing them in the water. I don't condone that. That's not good. That's all entertainment for social media. If you want to ask my opinion, but my thing is people get mad and you can't control their actions.
Mhm.
So once somebody's mad, and then like I said, you can't control nobody's actions. So you don't know how the people that comes out, you don't know them, so you don't know what takes them. Like when they get mad, what do they actually do?
Mhm.
When somebody is mad, the first thing is, say, if you go to a therapist or a teacher, they be like, "Oh, so and so is mad." They're like, "Stay away from them. Don't talk to them. Leave them alone. Let them cool down." But
Mhm.
as they mad, you never know what they're gonna do. So they're on a riot. They're gonna loot. They're gonna do this and the third. We can't stop them physically. We can at least try to help them. Talk to them or bring them down peacefully, or ask them just not to come to the protest ever again, because that's not what we're here for. But like I said, we can't control people's actions. But like I said, I don't condone into the violent protest. I condone into the peaceful protest. So yes, we do have a problem with that. It's just how can we stop you guys from doing it? Not saying you guys, but the people that do it.
But understand this as well. A lot of those rioters and looters, they are not the people that's there peacefully protesting. Some of these people are being put in place to do this for political reasons. Please understand this. Do not allow the media to put in your brain that this is peaceful protesters who are out here just rioting and looting and all this other stuff. Not saying that some people are not doing this. I will not say this. And again, just like Coach Johnson said, I do not agree with that, but I understand. And I'm gonna tell you why I understand. It's the Incredible Hulk effect. What happens when you pick an Incredible Hulk and he gets angry? He turns into this big green creature and he Hulk smash everything. That's what I call the Incredible Hulk effect. When you continuously bash a people, hurt a people, kill people, lie on the people, uh, 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 put in the people here that they less than, what do you think is going to happen? If you take a bottle of Coca-Cola and you shake it up and you take the top off it, it explodes. It's the same thing with a people, man. A nation of a people will only allow for the government to do so much to them for so long before they begin to react. Okay? Not saying the reaction is always the right one, but you have to understand the reaction, whether you agree with it or not. You have to understand the reaction. You get what I'm saying? Officers get mad and kill unarmed people. And I say people because I do not want to base it around race. I want to understand, even though that's what it is, I want to hit on something right fast. Officers get upset and kill unarmed people. Yet it's an investigation and we do not focus on that. Yet we get upset because some people tear up a business. Or we get upset because some people get enraged and riot. Which, yes, I understand why people are upset about that and get mad about that. But what is the cause of that? That should be the main focus. The cause. Do you see people on a daily basis saying, "Yo, you know what? I just feel like going down here and turn up the what's the name of it? Let's just go down here and ride for no reason." That's not the case. People get upset because they are tired of seeing the same exact thing over and over. So to get their message across is, you know what? This is what it is. No justice, no peace. You get what I'm saying? I don't agree with how they react, but I understand the reaction. And you have to understand as a people why they're getting upset. You understand what I'm saying? They talk about us. I can't believe they were out there doing that. Look at them, these riders. The president is calling them all kinds of they're terrorists and all that. Yet and still, a young white male was able to go to across a state line with an AR-15 at 17 years old, kill 2 people, injure another, and he's looked at as protecting himself. And they wonder why they're down there tearing stuff up. That's why. Yet instead, you got a man who's fighting to get away from the officers. It's every bit of 5 to 6 officers surrounding him with guns, batons, tasers, and handcuffs. They're strapped with these tools on a daily basis. And you mean to tell me it took 7 bullets to get him down? In his back, mind you, in front of his 3 children. That's why them people ride and get upset. That's why they're in the street doing what they're doing. Where's the justice there? That's not fair. And if you, as an individual, do not see that as one wrong and one being right, then there is a problem. There's some things you may need to educate yourself on. Because that is an issue. And that is an issue that Black people have been dealing with since beginning of time. Yes, beginning of time. That's what Black people date back to. Do your research in your history. You understand what I'm saying? And people are getting tired. People are sick. It's sickening every time you turn on the TV, another Black man is being shot by the police. And I want to stress this because you have a lot of people say Black on Black crime. Why is there no white on white crime? Why is that never a word? Why is there no Asian on Asian crime? Why is there no British on British crime? Why is it the Black community is the only community that has Black on Black crime? Ask yourself that question. You understand what I'm saying? You have to educate yourself and know. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Not to cut you off. I would say I wouldn't say there's no white on white crime and stuff like that. It's to the point where as though we're the only one being brought attention to.
Indeed, but why? Because they say statistics show, okay, that officers kill more white individuals than Black people. Okay. Now, again, I'm emphasizing because I don't remember the exact article off the top of my head. I'm emphasizing. But what they fail to realize is statistics also show that the Black race is 6% of the American body. 6%. Yet still we're being killed at about 20-something percent. And with that being said, with that percentage and that ratio, we're almost to the point of being extinct. You understand what I'm saying? It's like killing off a bunch of wild lions or something like that over there, and they're becoming extinct. But it's fine to say, save the whales. It's fine to say, save the animals over there. But the moment we say Black Lives Matter, people get upset. People get upset. So it's okay to save the whales and the dogs and the cats and the other thing, which are animals, which I'm not taking nothing away from that because I am an animal lover. Yes, I am. But what I'm saying is, why is an animal life more valued than a human life?
Why is an animal like more precious than a human
Why?
life?
Why? It should never be that way. It should never be that way, man. But this is the society that we live in today. And it's gonna take us, people like you, um, other, young black youth as yourself, young white youth, young Asian youth, young, Spanish youth. It's gonna take the youth to unify as one and understand each other. We will never become one until we begin to understand one another. That's the only way that's going to happen. We have to begin to understand one another. And that's by conversing with each other, understanding each other's differences, um, even whatever you may identify as. Just because you may not like what somebody else identify, it gives you no right to hate on them for that reason. You get what I'm saying? So it gives you no right to say, you know what, I bash them, I hate them because they such 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 such. That's not right. That's wrong. You should never do that. Just because you don't like what they identify as or you don't like what they do. That's not your right. You should love people regardless of how they look or what they identify as, judging by the character itself, not by what they identify as or the color of their skin and things of that nature. Love people. The Bible says to love all people. So just make sure judging people by their character, not by the color of their skin or what they identify as. And in today's society, that's what's going on. So we need youth to come together and understand each other because you guys are the future. You are 100% the future, and you guys have to um, educate yourselves. That is the biggest thing. You must know your history. You must know your history because in knowing your history, it helps you to identify with yourself. Once you know your history, then you take time to understand who self is. You know what I mean? Dig down deep into yourself, figure out who self is, learn your traits, your triggers, your likes, your dislikes. Learn what comforts you. Learn what puts you in a depression. You have to identify with all these things because only then can you begin to make a change. Because then you
Mm-hmm.
can use everything that you have educated yourself on and how you built
Mm-hmm.
yourself up, and then you can take that, go out into the world and make a change. Because now you're able to hear other people's opinions without being guarded or without being upset because you know what your triggers are, so you know how to literally take what's being said, accept it, and move forward with it. And that's hard to do, but you have to learn how to do that as well because that is what's going to make change in our future, man. And again, you guys are the biggest ones. I salute all um, you young guys who are literally doing whatever they can to make a change in today's society. So I tip my hat to you all, especially Heart Smiles. I really tip my hat to Heart Smiles because they have been a major platform for inner city youth. And I really appreciate that. I was lucky enough and blessed enough to actually sit in on one of the meetings the young youth had, and it was amazing. It was beautiful to see all the youth conversing, and you know, um, they had like I remember you guys had like another little section that you guys had in the back there, and then it was incredible. So I was blessed enough to see that, and that's what it's going to take to continue on this movement of progressing our youth. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take things like that. It's going to take uh, things like Heart Smiles, who has you guys do the live thing during the week. It takes things like that to help the inner city youth recognize that where they are and what they're going through is not the end, and other people are there to help them and understand them and get them out of that funk. Because growing up, I grew up in Park Heights in Baltimore. Growing up in Park Heights in Baltimore in the hood, you saw nothing but drugs, killing, prostitution, you name it. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It was just by the grace of God that I was able to make it out of there and stayed in school and things of that nature. It was by the grace of God but I went through a lot in there. The group homes,
So
the
you
foster
went
homes,
today.
exactly, the mental health institutions and things of that nature. So I can identify with the mental health aside and what these inner city youth are going through. I get that. So it takes things like Heart Smiles and other platforms to give these kids a way to understand that even though they're dealing with the product of the ghetto, that is not the end. It's so much more for them, and they can be so much more if they just take their mind. You're a prime example. You know what I'm saying? You came literally out of the ghetto into college as a black male. That is major in our society. You get what I'm saying? And it's sad that that's the way it's looked at, because in the white community, a kid going to college, that's just normal. In the black community, a kid going to college, it's exciting. It's like, yo, he made it out. When do we get to the point of that's normalcy for us as well? You know what I mean? So that's what we have to begin to build on, to where as though a young black youth, male or female, going to college is normalcy in the black community. And the only way we can do that if we continue to build up the youth in our community, give them ways to not be in the streets, and give them platforms as this to speak, be heard, and receive things in the process.
Well, you know, Mr. Buggati, bro, you basically touched on everything.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to keep going. I
No,
apologize.
no, you're actually good. This is your show. You basically wanted to come on here and tell your story, and basically talk about the Black Lives Matter, and
Indeed,
living as a black male in America.
indeed.
So yeah, I definitely, commend you for coming on here, telling about your story and telling everything that you have. I definitely do commend again to Heart's Mouse as well. That's a big organization that I'm not interested, that I'm actually in. Shout out to Miss Joni Hollifield. She's actually the founder of Heart Smiles, and then she has a whole team of Miss
Indeed.
Morgan, Miss Simone, Miss Emma, Miss Caitlin. So it's just a lot that she has behind her, and then the youth is actually. Well, if she was on here right now, she would tell you that we make Heart Smiles.
Mm-hmm.
That we are basically Heart Smiles. Without us, we know Heart Smiles. It's just us. It's just her, But Heart Smiles have definitely, it definitely made me who the person I am today. Actually, in college, So, and I can say this college is taking a toll. It's very, very stressful. Like, like I don't know. Like I don't even know. Like, I don't even know.
You
But
got it.
I got it. So I'm gonna
You
keep
got it.
going. I don't gotta just. It's taking a lot of time management. Um, a lot of leadership skills.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of email etiquette. So you gotta basically like educate yourself on how to write professional emails.
Mm-hmm.
Because even like I can give a certain tip real quick before we end. Even if you email your professor a question and he email you back, you still have to email him right back, right? You can't be like, oh, he answered my question, I'm not gonna text him back. You gotta say thank you, something. You have to email your professor.
Oh,
You
so
have
you have
to
to notify them at all times, basically.
you have to, and then
Okay.
when you address them, you have to address them by their exact degree. So sometimes I'll get mixed up.
Oh, wow.
If a professor texts me, I have to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because if you don't, it's also thinking that if you don't, you just be like, okay, thank you. The professor might think you coming off as rude or disrespectful. Or then
Okay.
also you got to remember if they're a professor, or they're a doctor. It's two different things. Somebody just might have their master's that bachelor's degree, and just be a certain professor, instructor, and somebody just have to take the extra tool and took that to the doctoral degree and actually get that doctor. So it's just a lot with this college stuff.
Wow.
Any other college students that's coming into college or that's already in college to watch this, college ain't easy, but I'm not going to discourage you not to come here because you still this is in 4 years I'm gonna look back and be like, wow, I was really complaining about that. Like that's nothing to me now.
Right.
So college is easy. You just gotta. It's not easy, but it's some fact of if you know how to do time management, you got it.
Right.
Especially with this whole online situation and stuff like that, you got it. And if you're a black male in America, you got it. Because if
Right.
you're in college, it's different. So,
Right.
shout out to you again for coming on here, Mr. Gotti Bone.
Thank you for the opportunity, man. I appreciate
No
it. It means
problem, no
a lot.
problem. So, yeah, basically, thank you. We basically gonna end it off right here.
Okay.
So if you like to tell anybody, this is the platform, YouTube Mentoring Basketball Change Your Lives. And you come right here, you're just going to see us, and you can share the link and everything as well.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, man. And again,
You're
like
welcome. You're welcome.
y'all guys keep your head up, man, and just continue to push forward. And don't let nobody tell you can't do it, because you can.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
See you later. Bye. So, hey guys, basically that was a wrap up of me, Mr. Buggati Bone today. Basically just living as a Black male in America. He wanted to come on here, talk about, social injustice, talk about the George Floyd, the Jacob Blake case, the certain things like that. If you guys want to come on here and talk about something like that, just hit my DM. Instagram is at mbcl.md. I'm very open to anything. If we can just work around my schedule, work around your schedule, we can set a time up. So yeah, if you guys want to come on here and talk about anything, just let me know and we can do it. But thank you guys for watching. Have a good day.